What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Around the Metaverse, our weekly show where we bring together some of the best content creators from the blockchain and NFT gaming community, talk about all the recent news, and give you guys everything you need to know to stay up to date. And that's a lot right now. My name's Adom. I'll be your host today, but more importantly, we got a great group of guests returning for another Around the Metaverse. First and foremost, obviously, we got the man, the myth, the legend, CryptoStache himself. How's it going?
I've seen better days. Not gonna lie, man. It's a Monday, bloody Monday. I guess Sunday too was really the bloody Sunday. So kind of recovering from that, and we're gonna talk a little about what that means. But I know it's tough for
Yeah, I
everyone
mean,
out there, so stay strong.
nine. What are we on? Month nine of we had like two weekly green candles after like 8 or 9 in a row or something like that, and then that was short lived. But we got Zueljin returning, another frequent flyer on Around the Metaverse, man. Happy to have you back.
It's good to see y'all. I've been focusing on my health and well-being, trying to not to stare at the charts too much, but everything's going good. I hope everybody's portfolio is all right.
Yeah, I mean, if we're people here are still on the show, we got our we took a few. I mean, we'll get into it. Some of us had some losses, but for the most part, I think most of us here are allocated pretty well and aren't struggling too hard. But tough times out there. NFTQ, man, good to have you back on the show again as well. How have you been faring the past through this turmoil?
Well, I got to hear how you guys allocated your funds really nicely, and I guess I'm the only diamond-handed degenerate here that didn't take many profits this past cycle. But it's not my first one, man. I remember hanging out with Stache back in the last bear market, so it's good to be around some other folks and that have been around the space for a long time. But happy to be here.
Hell yeah, man. Happy to have you. And last but certainly not least, we got Blockchain Boy returning for the show, man. Happy to have you back on for your second time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
But yeah, we got a great show for you guys lined up, or for you guys watching out there. Hope you're not doing too terrible with the downturn in the markets either. Hope you had a little bit of cash on the side to maybe buy the dip in some of your the quality projects that are out there, which we're going to get into what that is and what that isn't right here in a second. But before we do that, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for the show today, Illuvium. They actually just ended their very first land sale for their highly anticipated Illuvium Zero, and it was a massive success. Illuvium Zero is going to be their little mini game that they're coming out with pretty soon here, and they sold about $72 million worth of land, which all that money is basically going to get redistributed back to the Illuvium economy and the Illuvium supporters, which is a great success, especially in hindsight of the market right now. Check out this quick clip to see some of the land that people were able to get their hands on this past week.
I don't think we have the clip today.
Do we have the clip ready? Oh, we don't have the
Nope.
clip ready. All right, well, sorry, no clip today, guys, but I actually do want to let you know about what will be coming next for Illuvium. If you didn't get a chance to get in on their land sale, they're actually going to be dropping their Illuvitar PFPs coming up here pretty soon. So that's the next big thing to keep an eye out for. Make sure you guys hop into their Discord. They got announcements on the dates for when those things are coming, and then they're also slowly putting out some sneak peeks on the art and things like that, the utility for those that you're not going to want to miss out on. So hop over in there, but let's get back to the show. We got a big show to talk about today, guys. Obviously, there's been some recent developments in some of our favorite our projects. Had some big developments this past weekend. We're going to be talking about, can Web3 companies survive a bear market? A little story about what's going on with Celsius and possibly what could be happening to other projects in the metaverse. We're going to be talking about Galaverse and their recent Gala Games and their recent event Galaverse that happened last week, where there was some massive announcements as it pertains to blockchain gaming and what's coming next with that. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about big brands entering blockchain gaming outside of Gala. An announcement with Budweiser, kind of an interesting company to see taking their first pretty big step into the blockchain gaming realm. But let's jump right into things with our top story here today. Can Web3 companies survive a bear market? And I mean, it's not looking very good. The answer to that question is not necessarily looking very good, because the news over the weekend came out that Celsius, one of the top lenders, or kind of like a crypto bank, one of the top crypto lenders in the space, was going to be halting withdrawals, suspending transactions between accounts, and basically locking up all of their users' funds due to what they said are unprecedented market conditions. And there's been a lot of rumblings on Twitter the past week about a liquidity crisis that they're having with some of their positions in Ethereum staked in DeFi, and how that is actually affecting their books with the downturn in the market. I want to hear your guys' opinions on what this means for Celsius, and then also what this means for other companies that rely on the market to be successful. So Stache, let me start with you. Do you think it was right for Celsius to stop withdrawals, or was that an acceptable action in hindsight of what's been going on? And how would you feel if your favorite metaverse project or blockchain game did something like that?
I mean, do I think it's right? No, man. I mean, that's the thing that sucks about it. But is it within their like legal measure? Yeah, unfortunately, and that's just the problem that we have when it comes down to centralized third-party services. Man, there's always going to be a risk there. That same old. I know it's like beating a damn dead horse out there, but not your keys, not your crypto. And so, I will put it out here too. I'm a Celsius user. I've been using Celsius for over 2 years, man. So like I built up confidence in this platform, using them for a long time. I've interviewed Alex multiple times on the channel, been on their show, and not that I really ever saw like, oh man, this is a huge red flag. Like I have never had problems with withdrawals, always got, rewards on time. Everything's gonna be working well. And, it was something that I promoted. I told people like, hey, Celsius is a good way to do it. But always remember, and always with the caveat that, hey, this is a third party. You need to understand that there is risk there. It's not like you just stick your coins in it. It's like magically money's going to appear and there's no risk. Anytime that money's not in your own wallet, there's always going to be that risk. I took that risk. And, we'll see if I ever get those coins back. But, I didn't. The main thing is I didn't put all of my money in there, which I would never advise anyone to do. Never have all of your eggs in one basket. But it was enough to make a blow, for me to be upset about it for sure. And you look at this like, I think a lot of it stems from the fact that, in what we're seeing with Web3 companies in general is trying to provide products and services that people actually want, that they're not getting from the traditional financial system, And when you look at where we're at with inflation and just what you see with what most people are doing, in general, people are, trying to sock away savings here and there, but it's just being inflated away, right? So when someone says, hey, I have a chance for you to have a product that is going to give you a little bit more interest than what you're getting with your traditional bank, and that way you can hedge a little against a little bit of inflation, why wouldn't you do that? It's the same that like people, that got caught up in the 2008 crash with why Bitcoin was created. These people that like they're looking, I want the American dream too. I want to own a home. Well, some shady lender comes by and they're like, oh, you totally can do it. Look, this whole thing has changed and we got this thing here. And they're like, oh wow, I'm gonna have a chance to have that American dream. And people go after it because these are the things that are coveted. Everyone wants to own a home at some point. I don't really know any people who are like, nah, I'm not interested in ever owning a home. I'm cool just renting for the rest of my life till I die. No one says shit like that. Right? I mean, I don't think any of you guys have. So I think that that's the same thing as the reason why I saw Celsius as being a good product, because it was essentially allowing you to just kind of hodl. You didn't have to worry about being a trader and all the things that come with that, and you could earn actual interest that was going to outpace the inflation that we were seeing here. I think that if it can happen to a large company like Celsius, where they have 1.7 million people who have funds in their platform, that's a lot of fucking people, man. When you talk about how many people are in crypto in general, just across the world, 1.7 million people, it's affected a lot of people. And then, not only did it affect those people, but you can see how something like this infects the entire market. So it's not good for things like this to go down for anybody, right? So all those naysayers out there, the people, or the I told you so people who were like, oh, I told you so, it's horrible, you shouldn't have been doing this. Like it affected you too. So you could say I told you so all you want, but in the end, I don't think we really want any of this to happen. And so when it happens to any company, there, especially at this size, it could have a major, ripple effect. Now, I think we've seen this happening with crypto games in the past, where they essentially just kind of rug pull and they're done and all your assets are gone. But the scale is so much smaller, and so when we talk about like, well, what if something like this happened with like Blankos or with Illuvium or something like that? Like, yeah, man, I think a lot of people would be pretty wrecked. It wouldn't be on the same scale, But I think that we're going to start to see a lot of these NFT PFP projects and a lot of these crappier games that just don't have what it takes to weather a bear market. I think we're going to start to see them go away and fall by the wayside. And so all these people that were claiming metaverse, we're building a sweet metaverse, all those guys are gone. Like literally 95% are not going to make it through this bear market because there's just not going to be enough interest. They can't drive in users, and if you can't drive in users, there's no revenue there, and you're never going to be able to finish that game and get things going. So definitely sad to see what's happened here with Celsius, but it's a lesson learned, hard lesson for me too, and I know there's other people out there as well. So hopefully people watching here, you Stachers, didn't get too much locked up in there, and hopefully they get back to a point where they can open withdrawals back up. That's the best ideal situation. Now, will it happen? I don't know, man. A lot of people think they're going to be insolvent. I don't want to hear what you guys have to think about it, but overall, bad for everybody.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Like you mentioned, it's like this can happen to pretty much anyone in this industry, especially when markets are like this. If they're not really like on top, have everything dialed in, and it's not like Celsius did this on purpose. It's not like they rugged everyone like your crummy NFT project, right? It's like they had they were trying to do good for the community, but unprecedented situations do arise like they have, and hopefully they will honor
get back
the
to that
funds
point.
that,
And honestly, I
honor the
honestly
funds.
think that a lot of it has to do with Luna. I think a lot has to do with the crash there. I think that had a bigger ripple effects that we're going to see more and more of. Not just, I think Celsius was the first domino. I think there were a lot of things that were locked up in that ecosystem, and because of that, there's going to be more effects than just people who were in that blockchain are going to be affected. And I think this is one of those things that we're seeing.
Well, yeah, and then when you talk about like what can a company do, right? It's like hopefully Celsius doesn't just abandon ship and kind of slow rug and eventually declare whatever legal measures it takes to kind of get out of the bulk of what they've gotten themselves into. Hopefully we see themselves work their hardest to get back to delivering on what they promised. But I want to get your guys' opinions on like what would be if in blockchain gaming and the metaverse, what are acceptable measures to take when things like this happen? So like Zueljin, let me ask you, like what sort of decisions do you think are acceptable for a Web3 company, a metaverse project, a blockchain game to take during a bear market to survive? I mean, outside of beyond rugging, right? Like where's the line in which they can kind of go?
It's the hardest question that you could have asked me. Honestly, that's why we see so many slow rugs. I don't know what to do. I don't think they know what to do either. Like I've thought a number of times about creating NFT projects for my community and different agendas that I could do to capitalize on the Web3 metaverse and crypto gaming ecosystem. And I've never been able to figure out a way that I would be okay with saying, I can't do it anymore. Time's up. I gotta get out, because people that invest in whatever your product is, whatever your service is, whatever you're offering, if you can't deliver it at some point, someone is going to feel like they didn't get their return on investment, whatever you promised in the long run, without a specific time limit up front. So I don't know what the answer to that question is. I don't know how they can do it. There's you can't really sell a contingency plan. All of these projects, they sell these hopes and these dreams and this idea of people profiting from investments, having fun within their ecosystem, and moving forward altogether. And the fact of the matter is, when they can't deliver on any certain part, there's someone that's going to be a problem, in a situation like that. So I don't know what the answer is. That's why I've never been in development before. I can't really decide. I don't even have the guts to pull the trigger on small term type deals for my own community because of that. Because I'm really too scared of what happens if this black swan event, regardless of my planning or how much I want this to succeed, what happens at the end. It's the customer's left holding the bag. It's going to either turn into a slow rug or disappointment, or everybody's going to profit. It's hard to say, man. I don't have an answer for it.
No, I mean that's perfect, man. And I think, was someone just saying something? Nope, never mind. I think I think it's interesting to see like what's going to happen here too, because even if Celsius does get back to like being able to resume withdrawals, I mean, their reputation at this point is damaged. Like investor confidence is going to struggle to be able to overcome this, right? Um, so even if they are able to resume withdrawals, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be able to recapture people's trust after something like this has happened. I mean, blockchain boy, let me ask you: do you think we see other big companies like Celsius, or actually, maybe this is a better question for the viewers out there? Like, how maybe should retail investors protect themselves from getting too hurt when they're, getting involved in unproven, I mean, relatively, I guess, um, proven, but still not totally proven companies and investments in this space.
I mean, we're all basically just investing in startups at this point. So if you want to go by startup metrics, you should basically write off any money that you invest. Goodbye. You have to kind of emotionally separate yourself from it. But when it comes to these, staking returns and high APYs, like whether it's Luna or Time Wonderland, I was very skeptical of both of those for a long time. But the Celsius stuff did surprise me. And honestly, I think it's the bear market weakening these protocols that rely on people borrowing, relying on lending and spending, and they're being exploited by key figures. I honestly think that this was an attack on Celsius from some key players here, and I think we'll continue to see, projects that are weakened by bear markets get exploited, whether that's protocols, lending platforms, whatever it may be. But I think this is definitely not the last, and it won't be the biggest.
Interesting.
That's my take on that.
I mean, hypothetical then, just to, what would you think as being the next sort of domino to fall, right? If you have any idea, or guess.
Kurt!
It would have to be, I mean, Phantom's death spiral is continuing. I want to say, Waves is getting pretty beat right now. I'm still looking for Cardano to drop down another 70%. So like altcoins, a lot of my altcoin targets are still between 50 to 70% away from their target before I start buying anything other than Bitcoin. But honestly, man, you have to accept a certain level of risk whenever you're buying altcoins or using any of these platforms. Again, not your keys, not your crypto. I prefer to do my staking through DeFi and not giving it to a third party. So where if it goes to zero, at least it was the protocol. And not a third party who's over leveraged themselves to where they can't pay back their customers. But yeah, the whole thing with Celsius was shocking to me because it shows that even companies that have been around, lasted through a bull market and a bear market, can still be exploited, which is pretty concerning. And I think it gives the government more ammunition in their fight against DeFi.
Dude, I totally agree. And that's one of the things that surprised me as well, because like you said, this is not a new company that was just like, oh yeah, we started last year. They've been through a bear market. It was built in a bear market, then went through a bull market. Now we're back in a bear market again. And like I said, I've been using it for multiple years, and it was just kind of crazy to see that happening. I really do think that it had to do, with this domino effect. Where like what we're saying is that there's other factors out there that were playing against them, and I think that it kind of does tie back into the Luna stuff. I think personally, and we'll see what happens over the next.
I mean, coming from someone who's running a crypto company, in Web3, it's rough. It is rough.
Yeah.
Taking care of my employees right now has been my number one priority, making sure everyone's still getting paid. And we have not missed a paycheck, but that's been due to no small effort on my part to keep people funded. We want to have 18 to 24 months of runway without even having to worry about that. That's been my goal since January. And we're finally getting there to that point, and it's just a real weight off my shoulders because the last thing I want to do is have to go through and fire people. I've already had to, consolidate a little bit, but we want to keep the team members we have as long as we can, because we're really trying to build something great here. And so I feel for anyone in Web3 who's got a project or a company, because it's rough right now.
Word.
Yeah, and blockchain boy, you brought up a good point too. In that you prefer to go with DeFi as opposed to a centralized third party, because who knows what's going on really behind the scenes with these centralized parties too. And I guess the same could be said for DeFi also. But like, think about the news that came out with Do taking $80 million into some private wallets, weeks, on
He's
the
the Justin
weeks leading up
Sun
to the
of
crash.
2022. It's awful.
He is the Justin Sun of 2021, dude. Yes, sir. And I commented, like we talked about, like on one of the last shows, like, man, Jason was like this big thing, and then he stepped away from Tron and BitTorrent, and they just nothing. Like there's no developments, nothing happened after that, and like he's totally gone. He exited at a really good time. He pulled what I call a Charlie Lee.
A Charlie Lee, yeah.
He pulled a Charlie Lee.
Good old Irish exit, baby.
Yeah, and so
good old
now,
Irish exit.
It happened again. Yeah, it's sad.
But
I feel like we let Celsius off a little easy on this one, man. I feel like when you ask the question of what you should be doing personally and as a company, you should be looking at sound treasury management and trying to get into stable coins and maybe earning a little bit of yield. But what happened was Celsius over leveraged themselves, and now everyone's paying the piper. And they not only did they do that, they really said, hey, this is where you need to be safe with your funds. And then they went out and were degenerates, and people aren't talking about all this stuff when you have 8% yield. They just take the 8% yield, and then when this all happens, then they want to cry foul, right? So it's a little bit of a situation that everyone's dealing with. I think BlockFi, Zach Prince over there came out with a tweet, said 20% of his workforce is being let go today too. So I mean, I see it as a big macro piece, like Stache said. But it also has a lot to do with them over leveraging themselves using the staking ETH, and we're paying for it as a whole.
It's not only staking ETH, but there is more to the story than that. Allegedly, even though the blockchain transaction backs it up, the blockchain data backs it up, they lost $50-something million in a DeFi exploit. Who knows what else kind of went down. All the while they said user funds were not affected, but obviously when company funds are affected enough, then user funds do get affected.
Sure, but don't we kind of ask for this though? Like, we don't want like over regulation and stuff, but at the same time, these custodial services that offer regulated stuff, like you have this little pamphlet that you could fill out and on your risk level and stuff like that. Crypto doesn't do that to you. Nobody that invested in Celsius was like, I want a very conservative yield at 8%. Nobody said that. It kind of happened. So we do the same thing. And a lot of the market fluctuation that we all trade in and out of has to do with leveraging and people that are over leveraging. So as consumers in crypto, we buy into it. So I don't know, man. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, it just comes down to risk tolerance. Like all these different products have different risk tolerances. And that's something I always said when I talked about Celsius is like, this is a third party service, man. This is one of the highest risks that you can have. And people think like, oh, well, keeping my coins on like a Coinbase, there's no risk there, right? Of course there is. Ever heard of Mt. Gox? You know what I'm saying? So like, there's so many situations where like you just don't see it coming. Did anybody see Mt. Gox, being hacked like that and losing all this money? Did anybody see Terra Luna, the entire blockchain, being decimated and all that money being gone because their stable coin it missed its peg and it just then it just domino effects? Like no one saw those things coming. There's always there's the high propensity for what we call those black swan events in crypto because things are so new, so they happen a lot more often. So you never really know when you're going to get that left Mike Tyson hook right to the damn face, boom, and it just knocks you out. And there's not much you can do about it. You try and, like I said, practice risk management. And, some people are riskier than others. And I took a risk here and, I may end up paying, pretty significantly for it. And for all intents and purposes, I'll be very clear with you guys. I had like 2 Bitcoin in there. I had 5 ETH and I had about 50K USDT. And then like a couple, like maybe another 10K in like Chainlink and a couple other ones. So it's, it was, it's a fairly significant amount of funds like that. And, but like I said, I at least knew like, I'm not going to put all my money here. That would be ridiculous. but putting 1/6 or something of what you have in there, like I was like, oh, that's the risk that I can afford to take. And unfortunately, here we are. So
Well, yeah, not only are things so new, but in this case, and what you know, why the end user, the retail, is so negatively impacted by this is because daddy government isn't coming to bail them out. You know what I mean? Like this sort of thing happens in the traditional financial world, or has happened, or something similar to this has happened many times. But in all of those cases, the government stepped in to bail out the investors, which in that case were all of their crony friends. In this case, it's all of the crypto community, which they don't give two shits about, and they're not coming to bail anybody out. So, unfortunate situation. Hopefully, they get back to being able to resume withdrawals here in the coming months to years. They said it might be a while, and there might be delays. So, not too confident of a statement right there, I guess, right off the bat. But we'll see what happens, and I hope you guys out there watching weren't too negatively impacted by it. Let us know in the comments if you guys were in Celsius, and what you're doing now to kind of make up for what's happened, and if you're going out and looking for ways to hopefully make up for some of this. But let's jump into our next topic here on a little bit better news in terms of what we're really here to talk about, and the funner side of the crypto world. Galaverse just ended their probably the biggest event that's happened in the metaverse or about the metaverse this year so far, and we got NFT NYC next week, which would be pretty big too. But Galaverse was dropping the heat, man. They had some huge announcements as it pertains to blockchain gaming. We're going to talk about all that today. One of the major ones is they came out as announcing that their Western style battle royale game Grit is going to be the first blockchain game offered on the Epic Games Store. They also announced that they're developing a Battlestar Galactica game, which is another massive IP entering the Gala Games universe. And a ton of other cool things, a ton of live music, and a ton of fun people had at this event. I want to get your guys' opinions on Gala and this event, especially since it seems like they're still continuing. As we talk about Celsius, one of the biggest companies that's been around here through a bear market, through a bull market, relatively established, even though in the grander scheme of things, still kind of a startup. Gala, is not nearly as established, in comparison to Celsius, and they're still, charging ahead. NFTQ or NFTQ, what do you think is like the main reason for Gala's continued success, especially, or continued up until this point success, especially, in the context of where we're at with the market and things like that?
To be fair, I don't have a Gala node. I haven't been that much in the Gala ecosystem, but from outside, and I know I'm going to catch some flack for this, but because I was a user of Wax early on, but Gala feels to me like what Wax should be, in that you have this ecosystem of products that works really well together, that they've made good partnerships with, that they have all these things going on. That's what Wax should look like. So why they have, been really successful, it seems like they've been able to tap into the culture a little bit. They got Snoop, they got Paris Hilton there on, the stage trying to, get some marketing out there. The products look pretty good. And it doesn't seem that far removed from the Ethereum ecosystem, obviously. So I don't, again, have that in-depth knowledge, but just from the outside, it seems like Gala is able to kind of have their whole ecosystem work together well for the betterment of it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, going to be interesting to see how they keep going here. They have been full steam ahead. We haven't had any sort of negative news from them really at all, outside of, I think maybe they might have been dealing with some Discord, stuff, as I feel like everyone does at one point or another. But Blockchain Boy, let me get your opinion, man. Do you think that Gala, Gala is right now doing Gala. They have, not only are they doing games for Web3 in the metaverse, but they announced a really big announcement for Gala Music in some kind of integration with, I think, Tidal and Spotify. That's coming for Gala Music. And then also they leaked, or kind of hinted at some information of them kind of getting into Gala movies or Gala a film studio. And I mean, it just seems like they're really filling their plate with things, to fill up on over the next year and over the coming years here. I mean, do you think that Gala is going to be able to deliver on all the different ventures that they have going on right now and that they keep announcing?
I mean, I think Gala is a pretty impressive project from a couple standpoints. Number one, their marketing has been absolutely unreal. Their marketing has stayed consistently strong, even throughout the downward trend, which leads me to believe that they're well funded, which leads me to believe that they will survive the bear market. Having a blockchain game, crypto game on the Epic Games Store, even given its basic nature, because I did see some gameplay from it, it's nothing like groundbreaking, but to have that on such a mainstream store is a huge achievement. Obviously, they've got celebrities playing it up at Galaverse, and I mean, I don't think they're not tackling too much at once, because really they're all connected, and their ecosystem is going to benefit music and music NFTs and movie NFTs. We'll see. Honestly, I think there's a lot more value in like movie memorabilia NFTs and stuff like that, rather than movies themselves. So I hope that's the direction they're going in. I'm not a huge Gala person, although I am looking at buying a couple founders nodes from my buddy, because they're at a pretty good price right now, and I do foresee them sticking around because they have the backing. Ultimately, that's what matters, I think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that one. I mean, they've raised. I mean, we've seen them come out with a few different really big raises, and they haven't slowed down at all. Zueljin, let me get your opinion. I mean, what would you say is the most, given that they've continued to deliver on so far on what they've been pursuing? I mean, what's the most important thing for them to do during this bear market to kind of stay in the lead? Like what I would say is like the lead position for a blockchain gaming studio slash publisher.
I think them continuing to appeal to a broad audience is where it's at. I mean, in gaming, there's a lot of different genres. There's people that play shooters. There's people that don't play shooters. Ever since I started messing with any Gala products, everything that I've touched that they offered was playable, which is a lot considering the ecosystem that we're in. Blockchain gaming in general is not always so polished. Like it's like the early indie scene when video games were just coming into the whole indie push. There's a lot of stuff that I've played from Gala that was like, wow, this is pretty polished, which is pretty good. They have strategy games already like Townstar. They have Spider Tanks, which is a pretty fun MOBA. I never played the shooter, but if they can get a good shooter with a very good reception online with a fun theme, partnered with a place like Epic Games, they're going to do fine. So keeping appealing to those audiences and slowly introducing the world to blockchain gaming over time allows people to do what they normally want to do within gaming, except see extra benefits. And we all bought into the system when we started seeing benefits from crypto. People are going to fall in love the same way that we did. It's just offering them benefits for the same things that they love over and over again, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be funny to see too, like, when you talk about gamers and appealing to a broader audience, I'm honestly interested to see the statistics on from the Epic Games Store on things like downloads and playtime for Grit, just because as we've seen with the broader gaming community, this is not the direction that they want things to be going right now, and obviously we're trying our best to educate on the benefits of those things, but there are also caveats on how NFTs and crypto are going to be integrated into games. Stache, let me ask you, I mean, like, given everything that we've talked about, everything that's Gala's doing right now, given the context of where we're at in this bear market, I mean, do you think it's a good time to start considering either getting more investment into Gala, or if you're not exposed to them at all, thinking about maybe not going heavily invested into them, but starting to learn about their brand and things like that?
I mean, the bear market is the time to learn. I mean, regardless of what it is, but that the bear market is the time to build. It's the time to learn, and it's the time to really get your strategy in place, and get ready for that next bull market. That's literally what you should all be doing right now. Obviously, we're licking our wounds here and there, but setting like Blockchain Boy was saying before, like having targets, understanding that where am I going to be picking something up. And I mean, honestly, when it comes to Gala, I think that, just like every other coin in the market, I think we're going to go lower. Before, I mean, a couple months ago, people were asking me like, oh, what kind of price target are we seeing for Bitcoin? And I'm like, well, the 30,000 range has been really support. I don't know that we're going to see much below that. But then, that didn't take in consideration that a top 5 crypto blockchain was going to completely explode, causing massive ripple effects, and that, a giant, lending platform with 1.7 million users was also going to be compromised and take a shit too. So, yeah, I think in general, we probably have a little bit lower to go for all tokens in the market, even the good ones. So, right now is Gala a buy? Like, it's not bad. Do I think we're going to go lower? I do. And I think that's what you guys should really be looking for, is looking for the opportunity and trying to get the bottom within 20% of where it's at, right? If you can hit that bottom within 20, you don't have to hit it right in the nose, but 20%, that's all you need. And that'll work, man. And then you'll still be able to profit real well.
For me, it's an accumulation game. It's not necessarily catching the bottom, right? Like I have 5 to 6 projects that I would consider, what I would say long-term hold for next cycle. And for me, I haven't started buying either, but I'm probably going to start buying right after we see some of the meetings come out of the Fed this week. Hopefully we can see one more real tumble in tech stocks that translates to crypto, and then I'm probably going to start getting in some blue chips. And I'm also I almost pulled the trigger on a mutant today, but I think I'm going to wait. I think they're going to get closer to 10 ETH floor, and I'm going to go pick one up because it's about that time, man. I kind of want one.
Don't say that about my mutants, man.
I'm right there with you. It's funny, like because there was multiple times I'm like, man, I remember when mutants were 3 ETH, and I was like, I should give them. I was like, nah, I'll do it later. And I think we're going to see all NFTs taking a hit. I mean, Bored Apes have already, you can get a Bored Ape for less than $100,000 now. And so I think we're going to see, NFTs go the same way. I think that we have, a good 30 to maybe even 40% more to go on some of the, from what we're seeing right now. So we could go sub 20K Bitcoin, which would be, sub $1,000 ETH, which would translate, I mean, and then like you look at those buying targets, ETH between $800 or $600, man. I mean, that is like a juicy buying target. And
hey,
then you look at
people said Ethereum couldn't be life changing. It's about to be life changing again. At that price, I'm gonna sell both my cars.
Yo, even $1,200 right now is beautiful. Like I remember when I first started getting into crypto, ETH was $1,800, and I've been learning how valuable it's been ever since. The utility by itself is insane. Like when it's $10,000, is it really going to matter if you bought in at $1,200 or $1,800? The only difference is going to be you could have bought more if you timed it right. But honestly, dollar cost averaging, getting in at least bit by bit, taking some bites. When you see a big ass dip, if you've got disposable income, consider picking some up. It's not financial advice. It's just advice,
Yeah.
It might honestly.
Oh, go ahead. King.
No, it might be an oversimplification, right? That the NFT market, the crypto market's going to react to whatever the Fed is doing, like Blockchain Boy said. But that is what's happening. Like they're not printing it. The money printed don't go burr anymore, so we're getting screwed. And to be honest, like I was super surprised to see the Bored Ape price floor, as I own some. Like I was very surprised, but maybe I shouldn't have, because it's really just like a super leveraged play on ETH. Like it's a super risky play, and it's outperformed ETH, of course. But in these environments, people get really, really scared. And the liquidity is something people in NFTs don't talk about. I did try to sell my ape at 105. Yeah. I tried to sell my ape. I undercut the floor. I was trying to get out, and I couldn't. There's no fucking market sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
there's no market sell, bro.
Yeah, and that's you gotta have someone to buy it from you.
Yeah, and I've always talked about
a huge portion of it. When you see these big projects get published on blockchains that get that get so much amount of hype. I'm in Solana blockchain NFTs recently, and I've seen like big 10,000, 12,000 NFT projects that sell for 5 SOL a piece. When you think about it in the broad scope, like that's 60,000 Solana that's getting, used in the
Mhm.
in the blockchain. Like that's a lot of, when you think about a sector in a market, in the stock market or whatever, if groceries sell 10,000 times more than they normally sell, the shelves are going to be empty. You have to think about it in that perspective.
Mhm.
It's hard to really picture, but it's very relevant.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we're in for it now, boys. I mean, get ready to get
Buckle
your
up.
plan in place. Yeah, get ready to
Yep.
get your
Buckle
plan
up.
in place and then execute it, and don't stray from it. And then let's hop into our next topic here. We're running. We'll do a quick last topic here because we got a little bit of time left. Before we do though, thanks Digital Asset News for that super chat, that 2,000 cell, that $2 2,000 cell worth 2,000 Celsius tokens. And then Juan said, "Can I get a
Who's trolling us in
yo
chat?
Juan Hernandez?" But jumping into our last topic here, we're talking about big brands entering blockchain gaming and an announcement that came out from Budweiser, one of my favorite on the lower, one of my favorite, I'd say lower end beers. Not the like IPAs, but come
What?
on,
At
man.
least it's better.
If
At least
if
it's not
No.
Coors.
if yeah, if you have
At
to
least it's
pick from things, if you have to pick between Bud Light or Bud Light and Budweiser, or like Coors and Coors Banquet, or Busch, I think Budweiser is one of the better of the heavy ends of the crummier beers.
You
But
could do
that's not what
worse.
we're talking about.
You could do
That's not what
worse,
we're
yeah.
talking about.
It could be
We're not
past
talking
Blue
about the
Ribbon.
quality of their beer.
Their
We're
low
not talking
carb
about the
stuff's
quality of
pretty
their
good.
beer. We're talking about the quality of their NFTs, which they now have in Zedrun, one of the most popular kind of horse race. I think the first horse racing game, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
it was.
mistaken.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
they just did a big partnership with Zedrun, the first big horse racing blockchain game that came out, where they're going to be partnering up to do a bunch of different things, including sponsoring tournaments, creating new tracks that are Budweiser themed, and even dropping the iconic Budweiser Clydesdale from like the Super Bowl commercials, the iconic Clydesdale skins. So that we'll have Budweiser Clydesdales to race in Zedrun, which I actually think is pretty damn cool. And I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on like what's Budweiser's long-term strategy here with this, right? They already kind of stepped into the game by buying beer.eth, right? Is that what it was beer.eth
Mhm.
that they got as the ENS name?
Alpha play.
Now they're doing now they're doing this with Zedrun, so I think they've kind of taken this seriously. And Zueljin, let me start with you. What do you think the main reason for Budweiser, like, what do you think their main reason for partnering with Zedrun is, and what do you think they stand to gain from this partnership?
Money.
True, true.
I mean, everybody's got a metaverse play right now. I heard Martin Lawrence was getting into Cardano NFTs the other day. Like, it's
Martin
it's a
Lawrence,
trend,
that's funny,
man.
Oh
dude.
hell no,
People
Gina!
people are into it. It's a trend. It's the same reason why we're into it. Like, brands integrating into this space over time are going to perform very, very well. Like, they're early investors. They're just like us, getting into startups and taking these risk and investments. Like, it's a very, very volatile climate, and getting in early and being able to win promises considerable profits. It's probably just part of their allocations towards new development, new product development and stuff. And honestly, things like that, it's very bullish for crypto because they get a whole different kind of audience. When I think of Budweiser, it's kind of stereotypical. I think country boys, yeah, give me a Budweiser. There's racing and stuff like that. I'm from the South, but honestly,
NASCAR.
in general, like a premium company that sells consumables have so many outlets to advertise. All in all, it's bullish for crypto because they're going to integrate. They're going to expose NFTs to people that aren't exposed to them yet. And at the same time, they're going to get market share from people that maybe aren't familiar with their products.
I mean, yeah, I can agree with you on that too, but I'm going to be curious to see how Joe Dirt responds to the Zedrun NFTs, even though I do think it's pretty cool. Nifty Q, let me ask you, man. Given this news with Budweiser, and many other kind of bigger announcements that we still kind of see coming out, even though things are not great overall right now. I mean, do you think that this bear market is going to affect the frequency of which, or even or do you think we even come to see that these big brands made the mistake of getting involved in crypto right now with this bear market?
I would just want to point out to the chat too. Someone said Bush Light. That's just not an acceptable answer there when we're talking about our favorite beers. But do I think it's going to? Yeah,
Stache
PBR for the
mentioned
win.
Paps.
PBR, baby.
What
Listen, they obviously have
Someone's
a
gonna say
savvy
Natty
marketing
Light.
guy or partner. Yeah, do not say Natty there. I got a Milwaukee's best. Now we're just going down a rabbit hole. But listen, maybe it slows down.
The road
maybe it slows down. That's kind of my TLDR there. Is there's going to be brands that come into the space more and more, especially as gaming kind of takes off, and you have these metaverse environments that they can show off. For example, a Budweiser horse, a Clydesdale. Like that's a cool aspect of this to me, is naming rights for stadiums and bringing in assets for the brands into the metaverse. That's going to only increase over time. It's literally impossible that it goes the other way. So does it slow down? Yes, but is it going to continue to grow in a stair-like fashion? Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that too. And I mean, obviously, none of us would still be here doing this show. At least I don't think, if we didn't believe that things were going to turn around, and that people like brands like Budweiser, are making the right decision in getting in early on this, and it's going to prove to be obviously a big win for them in the end. Blockchain Boy, let me ask you, man, do you think that corporations and big brands are going to overall have a positive or a negative impact on the effect, or a negative effect on blockchain gaming? Oh, and let's say Web3.
Well, let's think about it like this, right? Much like our forefathers discovered the end of the world, we have discovered the end of advertising. It's everywhere. Advertising is so stale right now. It's so boring. Everybody wants to be the next Wendy's Twitter and go viral for that, right? The metaverse is the new frontier of advertising. And brands who embrace that now are going to be way ahead of the ones who do it later. And I think we're seeing this trend from a lot of companies that you might not expect. But I guarantee you it's the ones that spend the most on marketing. Who spends the most on marketing? Beer companies who rely on selling a lot of stuff to a lot of people, and their marketing budgets and departments are going, holy shit, it's a new frontier. So I mean, overall, I think it's just a matter of time before metaverse billboards are like a real thing, and just like, oh, there's the new Apple billboard in the Gala metaverse. I think that's a natural occurrence. So I think it's just going to be like any other form of advertising. People will accept it, and it'll just be a natural part of the metaverse,
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the way things are going to go. And I mean, I do think that there are going to be both corporations and brands that have an overall positive impact, but then obviously, much like anything, there's going to be bad players in the space.
I mean, imagine you're in the metaverse and it's like, girls near you 2 miles away pops up. Who's going to regulate that? The metaverse,
Yeah.
FTC?
Yeah.
Or,
they're out there. They'll be out there.
We're gonna get the Tinders or like the metaverse Bumbles that are gonna be every third block you walk in the metaverse, you're gonna get a new ad that pops up in your screen or something like that.
Yeah, or if you go to the wrong corner in the metaverse, they have like some JPEG, some poor Bored Ape turn it for nickels and dimes. Can I get some Satoshis?
He's strung out.
The strung out ape club. No, but Stache, let me get your opinion, and before we end things out here. I mean, do you think that this is going to be a standard for the future? I mean, like, is every corporation going to have some kind of NFT or metaverse business plan, or is this something that maybe is going to be reserved for, like Blockchain Boy was saying, the brands that rely heavily on marketing and things like that?
I mean, I think it's going to be easy enough for everyone to get on board. It's like the internet. It doesn't cost a lot to get, a website set up and have a web presence, or social media, same thing. They're all free. So I think that we'll see the same thing with the metaverse. I think it's going to be, the less friction you can have for something like this, the better, right? And I think that's what we'll end up seeing. We'll end up seeing, the least amount of friction for this, which means, incredibly easy onboarding. And I think that we're going to continue to see more and more brands do it. Like, why not? It doesn't take a lot to get involved. I mean, maybe now it does, but it'll get easier and easier and cheaper to do it. And that's why we see big brands jumping in now. They're dropping a drop in the bucket when it comes to funding for these things. So, like, who cares if it pays off? It's like they hit the lottery. If it doesn't, okay, we lost $10,000 or $100,000. Like for Budweiser, that's nothing. So big brands can chance it and come in, and they get that early market share. And I think these partnerships like this are kind of cool for us in the metaverse, playing these games and being a part of it. Like, it's cool to see brands coming and partnering in places that make sense, and I think it makes it more likely that we'll see more mainstream people jumping on board. I mean, I think a lot of people, when the internet first came out, they would say the same thing. Well, what country bumpkin's going to be using the internet to buy things online? No one's going to do that. And then now it doesn't matter where you get Amazon delivered every damn day to your door, and everyone can do it. Grandma can do it. Jeb over there that can't read, he can do it. He just shops visually on Amazon and goes, boop, 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 like that's it. So I think that we're going to see it happen more and more, just like everyone else said, and, make it easy.
I mean, remember the whole Fortnite concert thing with Travis Scott? That was huge. Imagine the kind of brand opportunities that are going to be possible in the metaverse when we have even larger events and more diverse events, where it's not just a concert. Maybe it's a place sort of like a more advanced VR chat for specific interests, or I don't know if you guys play like Star Citizen. Star Citizen is like a crazy. That's where I want to see my metaverse, going.
Crazy
Star Citizen. Wow, 10 years, man. 10 years of development. But it's still fun. I bought a ship.
I have a ship in Star Citizen, man. I bought it like 6 years ago or some shit, man. Like, yeah. We'll see. Eventually
It's fun for what it is.
Yeah. Oh, did Adam freeze?
I think he
sure,
froze.
Or he might be reading something very intently.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have for today, guys. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode here around the metaverse, and we'll see you guys next Monday. Thank you guys all. Make sure you guys follow the creators in the comments below. I appreciate you. Much love. Stay safe out there, everyone, and enjoy your community, and let's do it together. Peace.
Hell yeah.